Welcome to the Charleen Hess Show, living on your heart's edge on transformationtalkradio.com. In each episode, Charleen empowers you to shed the layers of your ego that hold you back and to connect more deeply to your true self. You will hear real, raw, and inspiring stories of people just like you who are letting go of fear to follow their heart's calling. Finally, the inspiration you've been waiting for to step out of fear and into your knowing. Get ready to feel empowered to live from your heart and follow that dream inside of you. Discover how to live on your heart's edge. The world is waiting for you to shine your light and share your gift. Now here's your host. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living on Your Heart's Edge, the Charleen Hess Show. I am so excited to be here. I know that I say that every week, but honestly, that's the truth. I'm so excited to be here. Today is a really special day. Today is a special show because I am bringing on one of my dear friends and an amazingly inspiring woman, Nancy McHarness, onto my show today. Before I introduce Nancy, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. I actually want to read her bio because it's absolutely so inspiring. And then I'll tell you a little bit about how I met Nancy and how I know Nancy and how she came about to be on Living on Your Heart's Edge radio show. So first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And in 2010, Nancy McHarness, her husband Denny, and other parents formed Partners for Schools, which is a nonprofit organization in Linden, Washington. Their vision was to cultivate community engagement to raise hope and inspire student success. During 2013, in partnership with the school district, they launched Be the One Today community mentoring program. Be the One Today connects adults in the community with students in the middle school and the high school campuses every week in one-on-one mentoring relationships. Over 200 students have been positively impacted over the last 5 years, and the list of mentors and participating schools is rapidly growing. Nancy likes to describe herself as self-deployed because every day she pursues her calling as a wife, a mom, a grandmother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a mentor, and community visionary without monetary compensation. For Nancy, contribution is her motivator and her paycheck. Mother of 4 adult children, grandmother of 1, and married to her one and only true love for 36 years, Nancy believes that when we change the life of one, we impact the lives of all. And I could not agree more. Oh my goodness. Such an amazing woman, an amazing friend. Let me introduce to you Nancy McHarness.
Hi. Thank you, Charleen. Wow, I sound pretty great.
Don't you though? Thank you so much for being on the show, Nancy. I just want to share with the listeners kind of how I came about asking you to be on the show. So I have known Nancy, I believe, since 2009. Our lives have interchanged. We did the Arbonne together. She became my very good friend. We were prayer partners for a while, and she is currently my hair client as well as my friend. And when I was on my trip traveling, the several shows ago, I shared with you the 3-week road trip that I took. I was actually sitting in Sedona on top of Big Rock, and I was sitting there and I was meditating. And in my meditation, all of a sudden, Nancy came to me and it was like, where do I want to go next? Like I was sitting there and I was meditating on radical generosity and the concept of radical generosity and realizing how much all of us have to give. And as I was sitting there meditating, the person that first came to mind was Nancy and her organization. I have known about the Partners for Schools and the Be the One organization because she would just share with me as she was coming in and share different stories. And she's asked me about mentoring and speaking to some of the students because Nancy, as my friend, knows me. She knows my history. She knows my past. She knows how hard of a upbringing and childhood that I had and what a transition that I made. And with my life and all of the things that I'm doing, I just haven't had an opportunity to go and speak with the students or to do the various different things. And I learned about the organization that she created and how it was born. And I just thought, that's it. Nancy is going to be who I'm going to bring on my show, because if anybody is an example of living on your heart's edge, listening to that calling, going against odds, I would say it's definitely Nancy. So I got home and I called her up and I said, Nancy, I want you to be on my radio show. And she kind of like, okay. Let's talk about that. So I am so excited to have you here and to share your story, Nancy. You are such an inspiration to me and all that you do. And it makes me teary-eyed. I'm like, oh, so many times I feel like I'm so emotional because it's what you're doing is such an amazing thing for our community, for our kids. And I would love for you to just, take a moment and share a little bit from your own words about who is Nancy McHarness and how did you come up with the idea of Partners for Schools?
Okay, so I think it's fun to think about the self-deployment. It's one of my little jokes. And, when you're filling out so many pieces of paperwork, they want to know what your employment is. And I haven't been employed for a paycheck in 33 years. So it was a point of feeling insignificant for a time, especially as my years of being a homemaker and raising my 4 kids was starting to wrap up. And that's when we started doing Arbonne together. I was looking for my place in the world to make, a significant contribution, as if raising a family wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. And I really felt that way. And I just felt the pressure that maybe a lot of women feel to make a contribution monetarily to the family, or to that was the measure of my contribution to the world, was whether or not I led a big group of people, or I earned the Mercedes-Benz, or I, got a paycheck, all those things. And so I went through just a journey of discovering that I can't use those things as measuring sticks for the value of my life. And that my true value is really just determined by the fact that I'm loved. I'm loved by God. And that's really all that matters. And, using any other measuring stick, even valuing myself, was demeaning the fact that, God just loved me, that I was enough, period. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to be anything. I'm adored like a child is adored by any parent. And so that was part of the personal journey that I went through at that stage in my life. And that's what was part of what led us into this as a couple. And at that time in my life, as the children were leaving home, I just said to my husband, I'm so tired of us going in opposite directions. And I really want to find something that we can do together. And I want a significant way of making a difference. And I had always come up with all kinds of business ideas, off the wall, hairy, crazy ideas. And none of them ever worked for my husband, of course. And so in the end, what we agreed that we could do together as a couple was to seek to find a way to serve our community. Mm-hmm. And because of a lot of the different leadership trainings that we had gone through together as a couple, as he supported me through my Arbonne journey and trying to find significance there, we felt like, tackling education was a good place to begin. And, really it was pretty simple. He and I made an appointment with the high school principal one afternoon, and I think it's about 2009, 2008, right after that economic downturn. And we just sat down and said, we care about our community and we're looking for a place to see if we can help. We don't know if we can or not, but we're willing to try. And we just asked, what isn't happening here? We saw a lot of good things happening from our community, even in an economic downturn, but we just kept reading in the newspaper about how, school funding was being cut, and they were really struggling on so many different levels, especially in our community at that time. There were some previous hurt between the community and the school board and decisions that they had made and judgments against schools in general can happen. And so we just felt like, this is a good place for us to try and figure out how we can help. So that's where we began, just asking how we can help. And the one thing that we discovered in our conversations with not just that one high school principal, but many, many other people that we talked to who were engaged in the schools at the time was, gosh, what's missing is just community engagement. Mm-hmm. And I know for myself that when I homeschooled, I had to be over the top, fully engaged. And when we sent our kids to private school, when we did that, oh yeah, you had to be engaged. It wasn't really optional to not show up. Mm-hmm. But when we sent our kids to public schools, we could actually not show up. And what has happened, or their experience, the school experience, was that parents would support whatever little pocket of interest their child had at the time. But there wasn't really an overarching organization that was looking to the good of the whole school district. And this disengagement of the community was just an underpinning of what a lot of things were not happening and how things weren't going right. And I read recently, Brene Brown said this, that scarcity is the underpinning of disengagement. And I thought, that's probably about right, that maybe at that time, there was such a scarcity mindset among all of us in that economic downturn. Yeah. We were all disengaging, and perhaps that's still true even today with all the things that have continue to happen since then, and all the things that we've all experienced. We continue to be disengaged. So our big dream when we first began was just to figure out we had a little motto, it said standing in the gap. And we were just trying to figure out how to see needs and meet needs. And we just did the next right thing as we went and spent a couple of years raising money for library books, because our schools hadn't had any library book editions in 3 years, and just little fundraisers. But we kept coming back every year and saying, okay, we're still here. We haven't gone anywhere. What else do you need? And then, about 2012, we had a talk with the new superintendent who had been settled by that time for about a year. And we said, okay, we can't keep raising money for stuff because the community doesn't really want to do that. That's not where we're going to find your community engagement. And our goal is to help your community be engaged with you. So let's find a new mechanism. Mm-hmm. Through conversations that we had been listening to as we were going along, hearing about their needs, we found that mentoring was one way that the community could really engage in a meaningful way, that they could say yes to, and that really would make a massive impact in our schools. Right. It's kind of a segue of, going from Partners for Schools to where we kicked out our Be the One mentoring program in 2013.
Right. So it all started with you as an idea of you going into the principal's office and saying, we have a heart for our community. We want to help. We are the community. How can we help with this school? And so I actually remember when you were raising money for books. I remember that now. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to participate in that. And so you just had this like feeling of, I think something that you said that was really important is that what Brene Brown is, scarcity is the underpinning of disengagement. That is such a profound truth. And that shows up in so many ways. And I think it's really easy, like you said, in the public school system, for families and parents to disengage because they are in that scarcity mindset of, I have to work, I have to do everything, and I can't be there, I can't be in all the places all the time. And it is coming from that scarcity mindset that we pull away and disengage. I think a lot of times parents send their kids to school and say, okay, well, let the school take care of it. And that is, I think, what creates the separation of the community being involved in the school. That's, I can definitely see how that is a very real issue. And I love that you came up with an idea of, I want to find a solution. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit more about how Partners for Schools started with this idea to help and turned into the realization that it was about mentoring that was going to make the biggest change. So stay with us and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Charleen Hess Show, Living on Your Heart's Edge. And today's show is the Be the One approach. And we're talking here with Nancy McCarnes, co-founder of Partners for Schools and the Be the One mentoring program. And before we left for break, we were just learning from Nancy about how she had this desire in her heart to create more community engagement with her with her community, to have the community more engaged in the schools. And I am really excited to hear more about how did the Be the One approach, or how did Be the One become out of Partners for Schools? How did it shift from let us raise money and help the school to now we realize that we need mentors?
Well, I just was thinking again about Brene Brown, and she was talking about how love and belonging are essential to every human being. Like, you can't live without love and belonging, period.
Absolutely.
And where there's not love and belonging, there's suffering. And what's amazing to me is that we really set out to just help cultivate an engaged community. And we found a solution that eliminates suffering and raises hope. And I'm blown away. I tried hard to sell products and to make a significant difference for a time.
Yes.
And what's amazing about this is people intuitively know this is true. I mean, just in your gut, this is right. This is true. Any parent knows that we need to have affirming relationships, and children need that. Mm-hmm. And all of our kids today in our schools have been born since 9/11. And they don't know a world that there isn't a scare about a shooter coming into the school. Mm. They don't know a world without terrorism in general. They don't know a world without cyberbullying or the internet or, easy access to pornography. So many things that are harmful to our kids are just in their face all the time. Mm-hmm. And the kids, in general, no matter whether they come from a really solid situation in their family to something that isn't as great, they're all having a lot of anxiety, and they're all having this sense of, is there hope? Is there a future? And those are the kinds of things that cause them to choose behaviors that are harmful, both for themselves and for other people. Mm-hmm. And so what we have discovered, really almost by accident, is the fact that when students get to have an hour a week with an affirming adult who's not an authority figure, who's not a relative, who is only showing up just because they care, and they have nothing better to do than to just sit and listen to the student, it's profound what a difference it makes. And I think of it as a sanctuary in time. In the Christian or the Jewish tradition, there's a Sabbath rest. And the idea of that is just to enjoy what is good, what was created, and saying it was good, and then just resting and enjoying it. And so what we offer to students by going and sitting with them like this is just this little sanctuary, one little hour of time when their performance is not a consideration, when it's not about anything except just being with them, and mentors making eye contact, listening to them, caring about them, remembering, from week to week. So they're developing this relationship over time, and then celebrating, good stuff, and believing in them even when the kids can't believe in themselves, kind of offering, you can borrow my hope because I see it in you. And seeing the treasure that is them, the simplicity of that, and how that supports positive outcomes for academic achievement and interpersonal communication skills. Um, the list of positive effects, both for the student and the mentor, are just going on and on and on. And it's all validated by scientific research. And so we're pretty amazed by that.
Wow.
So that's kind of the be the one approach, is this idea that, one couple could adopt a community and decide that our kids matter, our schools matter, and we can make a difference just by showing up and doing the next right thing. And then the dream of bringing strength to face today, putting our heads together, finding our common values, building relationships, bringing healing as we can through those relationships, and then helping students just successfully launch into their contribution.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
so much fun.
Yes. And so that is when that couple can go in and decide that they want to help the community, was, you and Denny, when we want to help. And then how did it grow into where you decided we want to try and match students with mentors? How did that grow out of this, and what has happened with that?
Thanks. um, well, the school district flat out said, we really could use a mentoring program. We said yes. We researched it. We began together. We together came up with the whole concept. It really wasn't our idea or their idea. It was us working together. It was a collaboration. And then once we started and piloted it in 2013 in the spring, then they said, that's terrific. That worked great. Now we need 25 mentors yesterday. And we're just like, we don't know how to do that. And so it was really a matter of just praying, honestly, and asking for a miracle and trying to figure out. And that's how the Be the One campaign was founded. The school district established the 1 hour a week with students on campus. That was their parameter. That's what they needed. And then we came alongside as a nonprofit organization and said, hey, we'll fundraise to make this happen. And so that's one of the unique things about our partnership, is that we're a nonprofit organization formed by parents, really different than a lot of other nonprofits who create mentoring programs. Mm-hmm. And we don't want this program to ever go away, so we don't really utilize grant funding. We are 100% locally funded. And we just did something really simple. We just asked for our community to be engaged. And we started with what we thought of as the founding fathers of our community, the business owners. And so in this kind of same mindset, a parent mindset, we said, okay, well, then the fathers need to cough up the bucks. And so we just went out and invited them to be a part of making a difference, and asked businesses to sponsor, make a $500 or more sponsorship for 3 years. And they did. And so that's part of how we created this long-term financial sustainability. And then over time, it's grown into individuals who are participating as well. And so we now have figured out, by the way, we started just part-time, like with 10 hours a week with somebody. And now we have 3 full-time mentor coordinators at 3 different schools. So to support the salary, mainly that's what we fundraise for. We support to create the money for the salary and benefits of a mentor coordinator. And we figured that if 120 people would support with $42 a month, that we would have 1 full-time program. And so that seemed pretty doable. It seemed like pretty much any community could probably find 120 people who would put out $42 a month to see to it that kids in their schools could have access on campus to affirming relationships with adults. So that's one of the fun things that we've done.
So with the mentor, the mentor goes to the school and has their 1 hour during their school time. with
Yes,
your student?
right. And because of the partnership being what it is, we do the marketing and advertising and, encourage people to apply. But as soon as they apply, it's the school district who does the vetting, the training, the oversight. That's what the mentor coordinator's job is, to make sure
Got
that
it.
there's good matches. And because those mentor coordinators have done such a great job of matching, we have people in their 5th year of mentoring.
Wow.
So long-term relationships are possible, and that we have an 82% retention rate of our mentors. So
Wow.
even if for some reason students decide to, not participate anymore, or if they graduate, more often than not, our mentors will sign up again and say, give me another kid. So
Wow.
it's been pretty amazing.
That is incredible. That is incredible. What a difference. What a difference that your program is, that you, and what a huge job for the mentor coordinator. No wonder you need to have a definite, employed person that can take care of. That's a lot of work to be able
It
to
is.
do that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you now have 3. I remember when you started with just 1, when it was just in Linden, and then in Ferndale, and now Bellingham. And it's just amazing. And I think last time we spoke, you said that there's other schools going, we want this program in our school too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we're
Yeah.
going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I would love, Nancy, if you would share with us some stories of how this has impacted some of the students' lives. If you wouldn't share that when we come back from our break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Charleen Hess Show, Living on Your Heart's Edge. Today we are talking with Nancy McCarness about the Be the One approach, the amazing mentorship program that she has co-founded and is currently successful in Ferndale and in Linden, making a difference in our communities. And just before we went to break, we were learning about how the mentorship, how the program switched to being more of a mentorship type relationship. And I would love, Nancy, if you would share with us some stories. I know that as you've come into the salon and shared different stories of um, things that the kids have said and all of the different ways that this has impacted the kids' lives and the mentors, I would love if you would share some of the stories. You've had over 200 children now whose lives have been positively impacted in the last 5 years. Would you be willing to share some stories of how that has affected some of the kids' lives or mentors' lives?
Yeah, you bet. And of course, we've got a lot of stories on our website, betheonetoday.org, because we're parents, and we really think about the stories as being the most important thing. That's the relational thing, and our organization is really committed to developing relationships and encouraging people in relationships. We feel like stories are the most powerful part of it, and
Yes.
so we don't really treat people like statistics. I mean, we do keep a few stats, but mostly we just tell stories over and over again. And anyone who wants to hear stories on a regular basis can sign up for our mailing list, and we shoot out a story every week, so people can be encouraged with that kind of stuff. And
Where can people
but
sign up for your email list, Nancy?
they can either do it on the Facebook page, which is the Be the One Today Facebook page, or at betheonetoday.org.
Okay, and then there will be a place there where people can sign up and say, hey, I would like to get your newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I love getting the newsletter, and it's great. It's only once a week. It's not like an overkill in your inbox. And every time I read it, I'm so inspired by the stories. It's a wonderful, wonderful newsletter.
Yeah, and really it's short. It's 1 minute a read, right? That we're
Yes.
committed to making it reasonable.
Yes.
We're all busy, but it's great to hear a little snapshot, a little bit of what's going on inside there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some stories. So I get to interview most of the students at the end of every school year. That's been part of how we've done our measuring, is I interview all the students and all the mentors that I can, and record their stories so that we can write up their stories and know what a difference it's making. And I get such a kick out of it. So like when I'm at the middle school, it's a totally different feeling than when I'm interviewing the students at the high school. And I love that we can reach both ends of that. And the students who get to transition with their mentor from middle school to high school really have a really good time. And the mentors love the fact that they can have that length of a transition with students seeing their development. But as an example, I've got a few quotes from kids. Here's one. I think mentors are a lot of help. They can help you figure out how to get help when you need it. That sounds like a kid talking, right?
Uh-huh.
Talking with my mentor helped me not to care so much about what others say. She made me realize that I did matter, and everyone doesn't make perfect decisions all the time. And I can't control the other people around me, but I could control what I felt and did about it all. And that's something that helped me. And that made me help me make better decisions. Um, you can trust a mentor. Sometimes parents are busy. Mentors don't judge. My mentor helped keep my dream alive. You should get a mentor. Actual people. These are real statements. I can talk to my mentor about anything, life issues, relationships, my future plans. He's awesome. What stands out to me is how much I've changed because of him. And it's nice to have someone to talk to who isn't biased. He doesn't have an ulterior motive. He really has become a lifelong friend. Aren't those beautiful?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so important, because
Tiny
especially
simple.
in middle school and in high school, I think that kids really, I know that with my kids, when my kids were teenagers in high school, and that feeling of as a parent, I tried so hard to be there and to be available and to come and listen with a judge free home, like everything is open. And although currently I have an amazing relationship with both my daughter and my son where they can tell me anything, it was not that way in middle school and high school. And I think kids are looking out for every adult as, what do they want? They want me to measure up, they want me to show up this way, they want to put me in this box, they want me to comply and conform. And I think that that's this pressure that our kids feel. And so to have a relationship of somebody who just loves and accepts them. I love that the way that you're doing the mentoring program is based on that it is not just somebody to help you with your homework, right? It's
But
like,
we don't do homework.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like that I think as a student, I would be so much more drawn to that. Like, you mean there's somebody just to be my adult friend, like to just mentor me and to hold me accountable in a loving way. Something that you said earlier that really stuck out to me was, you can borrow my hope when you don't have yours.
Mm-hmm.
That is such, as a life coach, that's my job, is when I have a client who I'm working with, who they no longer have their vision, they lose sight of what their vision is. It's like I hold that vision for them, and I can have that, and I see them in their highest, and so they're able to borrow mine until they can find theirs. And
Mm-hmm.
absolutely how wonderful that kids can do that. I remember one story that you told me, and I'm sure you have a million stories, but one that stood out was about the bullying. Could you share that story
About the what?
about the kid about being bullied?
Um, well, if it's the same one that I think you're thinking of, I've been offering an improvisation class for students after
Yes.
school. And and it turned out that we're doing it bilingual. and so we have about half the kids are Hispanic, and traditionally they aren't really engaged in school activities. And so it's pretty great that they're willing to come and hang out and play with us. And so we really cultivate this sense of belonging, this love and belonging, acceptance. That's just part of improvisation play. That's part of the principles. And so one young man at the end of the day, we did the appreciation circle, he talked about how he had come to the country and didn't really want to be here and didn't want to be at the school, and how kind of isolated and alone he felt. And he talked about how he had been invisible before he started coming, but now look at him. He was playing, he had friends, and not only did he have friends inside of our classroom, but he had friends in the hallway now, because the same people who were his friends in the classroom environment that we were having were also his friends in the hallway. And he used to feel invisible, and that being invisible was worse than being bullied, because if he was bullied, he would have at least been seen. And so I thought that was just profound, that being seen was such a big deal and made such a big difference in his ability to show up and be there and enjoy his time at school and feel loved and like he belonged.
Yes, that's yes, that's so amazing. That when you told me that story, that just really hit home. That kids, we all just want to be seen. Adults, we all just want to be seen. And here you've created this mentorship program along with your community, along with your husband and your amazing relationship. And the way that you and Denny have done this together is so beautiful because, like you said, you do it from the approach of parents. And
Mm-hmm.
as a mother of 4 children and a grandmother of one that's so involved in your children's lives, that you just have this amazing heart for your community. And now schools have community engagement,
Mm-hmm.
and it's growing, and it's so amazing. I Every time you come in, I'm just like, how can I help? I want to help. And so, yes, I do my monthly donation, and I'm like, there's more. And I know that there's a time where I would love, there will be a time in my life where I will be able to be a mentor, because I know that I am going to be called to that as my life, settles down more of all the things that I'm involved in. And I'm sure that there are people out there right now listening to this radio show that are also inspired by what you're doing and want to be able to help. And so I would love for you to share with us how people can help. How is it that we can help? So I know that we had talked about, anybody can get involved in their community and do that. But I want to know, how can we help the Be the One mentoring program? So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm excited for you to tell us how we can help you continue this vision and your mission.
Right.
Be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to the Charleen Hess Show, Living on Your Heart's Edge, and I'm here with Nancy McHarness and the Be the One approach. And before we left for break, we were talking with Nancy about how excited I am every time I hear stories about the mentoring program. And I'm always thinking, how can I help? I want to help. I know what a difference that this is making in students' lives, in community lives, not only the lives of the students, but the lives of the mentors and in the community. Because when you do change the life of one person, you're going to change the life of the community, and it changes the life of the community, changes the life of the world. And we are making a change in the world, one person at a time. And I believe that with all my heart. And when I hear about people doing amazing things like what Nancy is doing, my instant thought is I want to help. How can I help? And so in the past, Nancy has asked me about doing, being a mentor, and I wasn't able to. And so one of the ways that I'm able to help is to donate. So Nancy, how can people donate? Tell us about one of the ways of helping with donating.
Well, the easiest way is to go to the website, betheonetoday.org, and click on the donate button. And when you're there, you have the opportunity to either designate a specific school district so that you know where your money is going to, one program or another, or where most needed. And you have the option of doing it monthly or as a one-time gift. And if you're interested in a sponsorship, maybe your business or your organization wants to create a sponsorship for 3 years, even some couples or families have made 3-year sponsorships, then you just contact us and we can get that set up.
Wonderful. And you were saying earlier that if 120 people
Hmm?
would
120 people.
would donate $42 a month,
Yeah, that's like 500 a year.
that would support an entire additional program, which I know that there are schools that are wanting this in their school. So that's wonderful. And so if you do live in Linden or Bellingham or Whatcom County or Skagit County, you could also, what's another way that you can help?
Well, besides donating, they can follow us on Facebook. We post our stories there. And you can like it, you can follow it, you can repost our posts. Those are things that are helpful.
Okay.
And a really simple way to give financially without really much ado is using smile.amazon.com.
Okay.
And we are a registered 501c3, Partners for Schools International. And so you can designate Partners for Schools International as your charity that you want to donate to. And every time you make a purchase through the smile.amazon website, then we get 0.5%.
That's
So that's pretty
amazing.
exciting.
That's so
That's
easy.
pretty
I
fast.
just did that. I just did that. It's super easy. Literally smile.amazon.com. And then you go in, you just click Partners for Schools International. And now every time I shop, because I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, I love that I'm being able to give to your organization that way. So that's a really easy way. Um, and people can, the other thing about doing a donation is, we are approaching the end of the year. And as a nonprofit, this is a tax write-off. So all of the businesses out there that are listening, or the people that are out there listening, and this is a time of year where people are feeling generous and they're wanting to give to organizations that are making a difference. And how wonderful to be able to give to an organization that is helping students have a sense of belonging that's going to change their life, which is going to change their community, because the kids are our future.
Yes, and mentoring is another way to help. If you live in the area, Whatcom County, specifically Ferndale High School, Linden Middle School, and Linden High School, all could use mentors. And very specifically, Linden Middle School has a wait list of 16 students right now.
Wow.
And we have 8 boys and 8 girls. And so we need men and women alike who can come to the campus once a week and spend an hour with a student. And mentors make a 1-year commitment at a time, just giving that 1 hour on campus. And they don't need to do any tutoring. And really, you just get to be who you are. And the matches are made based on your own personal experiences and the child's experiences. And they find common ground. And the goal is just to hang out and play and have conversations. It's pretty easy.
Wow. Wow.
So to do that, if you want to mentor, again, just go to betheonetoday.org and click the mentor button, and that will begin your journey. And there's also a lot of information, the FAQs, about whether you want to give financially or if you want to give your time. We've put some information on our website to help fill in the blanks on questions that you might have. So definitely check out the website.
I imagine as a mentor, I imagine this is not only just changing the lives of the children, I imagine it's very touching as a mentor. I'm sure you probably have stories of that as well.
Yes, and some of our videos are actually the mentor story, for that reason, because we have this kind of a different idea that a mentoring program isn't just about students, whereas most mentoring programs are about the students. For us, a mentoring program is a mechanism for community engagement. And we then have this perspective that, we're all beneficiaries. And the mentors have just as amazing stories as the students do. And so we tell their stories too. One in particular stood out to me. A pastor from my church had been kind of knowing, thinking about becoming a mentor, and but putting it off. And then he finally decided to, he was going to do it. And when I interviewed him last spring, he was saying to me, I can't believe I waited this long. And talking about how he was mentoring a student who didn't have a father, and how he realized just how rich he was to even have a father figure, that he was raised with a family, where he had a father. And to be able to be, not a father to the student, but kind of a father figure for the student, and how that filled a hole in the student's life. And it brought him to tears. Just the idea that he could do something so simple and make such a big difference, and what a difference that makes.
Absolutely. We all have something to give. And, one of the things that you had talked about earlier, or in our relationship, is knowing how sometimes we can feel like who we are is so insignificant. Like when you were talking about you hadn't brought in a money paycheck in 33 years, that you were, just a simple housewife. And yet here you have been able to, co-found this amazing organization because you listened to this call in your heart of knowing that you wanted to make a difference in the world. And I just want to say to everyone that's out there that's listening that, we all have the ability to help. We all matter. We all are important. Whether it's a way that we listen to this desire in our heart to start something new or to participate in an organization that already exists, or to simply open up our pocketbook and give some money to an organization that's already founded, that's already making changes in lives. We all matter, and every little thing that we do can help immensely. Nancy, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for showing up, listening to the call of your heart, for co-creating this organization, for caring enough to want to make a change in your community. It's you touch my heart. Every story that I hear when I get to see you just touches me with the change that you're making. Thank you so much for listening to your own heart and making that change. And as we're wrapping up, if you can just tell everyone again, go to your website at
betheonetoday.org.
Wonderful. And you can also go to your Facebook page and share your links, share the posts, get the word out there. If you're not local and you can't contribute in person, then please contribute in your prayers and in your financial support. Thank you so much, everyone. You've been listening to Living on Your Heart's Edge, the Charleen Hess Show with Nancy McCarness, and Be the One Today. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Charleen Hess Show, Living on Your Heart's Edge with your host, Charleen Hess. Tune in every first and third Friday at noon Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com as Charleen empowers you to shed the layers of your ego and to connect to your heart so that you can live your calling and shine your unique divine light. For more information or to listen to past shows, visit charleenhess.com. That's CharleenHess.com. See you next time.